In this video lesson, we're going to take a look at how to insert an image in Dreamweaver. If you remember in our last lesson, we took a look at image optimization, and in my root folder now, under the assets, in the activity for last lesson, I went ahead and I put a a JPEG file of the optimized pug picture in the assets folder. So we're going to go ahead and use that in Dreamweaver and insert it into a page, which is actually a very, very easy process. And we're also going to take a look at some of the other options you have for image optimization and placing images into Dreamweaver. I'm going to open Dreamweaver, and what I have open is my index or home page for this practice site that we've been working on. Now if I direct you over to the Files palette, you'll see inside my Assets folder that Pug JPEG image is already present that I put in there. I haven't used it on my site yet, but it is located in that Assets folder. So the easiest thing to do is position my cursor on the screen, and I'm just going to hit enter. So you see, just like a either OpenOffice or NeoOffice or Word document, I have a cursor insertion point, and I can insert an image by either going to the insert menu up top and coming down and choosing image, or if I have the insert palette open, I can make sure that I am in the common objects, and as I scroll down here in my common objects, you'll see images right here. By clicking the downward arrow, I can choose to insert an image. So I have two options for where to go. So when I click image, it's going to ask me to locate where my image is. I'm going to navigate to my root folder, find the practice site that I'm working on, go into assets, and here is that file right there, pug.jpg. What I'm going to do is it's going to bring up an image tag accessibility attributes box. I'm going to type in what's called alt text. So I'll just type in pug because it's a picture of a pug. This is the text that will show up if the image link is ever broken, like that image is for some reason taken out of my root folder. It will display this text in its place. It also works with certain types of browsers that assist with different disabilities, maybe a text-to-speak type of browser. If somebody couldn't see, then it would the text-to-speak would look to the alt text. So I'm going to type in something simple, say OK, and my image is going to be placed in. Notice when I click on the image, I have different properties that show up. I can adjust width and height. SRC is a source of where the image is located. Alt text. The link, if I chose to make this a link. And a whole bunch of other options that I could choose to place in there at any time. I could go ahead and place a border around it. I could crop it, set alignment. There are some basic editing things that I can do to this image, so you're certainly free to play with those. On the lower part of the properties, all these options down here, we'll take a look at a later point in time. But for now, stick to the sizing. All right, we can choose to edit this with Photoshop, alt text. We can add a border around this image. You can see here I just gone ahead and added a 5-pixel border. One thing you need to realize in web design, everything is going to be measured in pixels. So that's the quick and easy way to add an image. This image, remember, has already been optimized. I'm going to save it, and when I preview in the browser, give my browser a second to open up, that image shows up. We're going to now take a look at the red page. All right, and on this red page, I'm going to go ahead and insert another image, but we're going to use a little bit different tactic. The first image that we inserted was something that we had already optimized. What if you have a Photoshop document that you haven't optimized yet? Well, Dreamweaver will still allow you to process that. I have on my desktop, if we take a look, get to it, I have a Photoshop document that I have worked on. I've resized it to fit on my page, and you can see I've added just a slight drop shadow around here. So what I have is a transparency effect and a little drop shadow around this image. Now because of the transition of color, JPEG is really going to be a good file type. But what would happen if I saved it as a JPEG would be that this transparency would be turned to white. So I could opt to use a PNG, which would maintain that transparency. The other option is to do what's called setting the matte color, which will allow me to use a JPEG, keeping my file size down and allowing me to not add transparency, but match my destination background. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into Dreamweaver. I'm going to place my insertion point just like I did before, but this time when I go to Insert Image, again I can use either direction to get there. I'm going to choose that red pug PSD. Now notice this file is on the desktop. It is not inside my assets folder of the site root. So when I say choose, it's going to open up image preview. This is an image optimization part that is built into Dreamweaver. Now I can go ahead and set the quality of my JPEG. All right. And I'm going to use a JPEG file, so I can set file type JPEG. Quality, I could adjust my quality. Obviously 11% is not doing me any favors. So I'm going to go ahead and bump up the quality. I can choose to do a 2-up display or 4-up display, just like I could within Photoshop. And I see here I have, this is a JPEG at 86% quality, relatively low file size still, so that will work for me. The last thing I'm going to do is set the matte. Now if you look at the matte, what this will allow you to do is either pick a background color that will replace any transparency on this JPEG image. You'll also notice I could take this and drag it right out onto my background, and I can go ahead and set a background color from here. So if I pick my background color here, when I set that matte and I choose save, it's first going to prompt me, well, after setting the matte, it's going to replace that color with transparency. Because this was an image outside of my root folder, it's going to ask me to save the web image into my assets folder. So what this is doing is it's taking all those optimization settings that we just did, applying them to that document, and placing a copy inside of the assets folder. When I click save, it's again going to ask me for alt text. And you see that matte color has now appeared around my image. So I have that nice even transition from image to the drop shadow and onto my background. When I save and preview this in the browser, right there it is, matching perfectly with that JPEG map. The last thing I want to call your attention to is next to files we have assets. Anytime you add something to the assets folder, it gets replaced. Now obviously the red pug is not here. If I refresh this by clicking the refresh site list button, you see it's going to show up, and this will allow me to browse any of my assets that I've used on my site. If there's things that I use multiple times on the site, you see this button right here, insert. I can select a file and insert it into a page directly. So if I were to open up the blue page, position my cursor, go to my assets, and if I wanted to use this pug picture again, I simply click insert and it will drop it in. So that's a quick little shortcut. This will also filter out your assets from images, colors, links, Flash documents, audio, video, etc. So you can filter them based on type from within this assets palette. So your assignment, you should have optimized 6 images for use in the previous lesson. You're now going to take and insert all of those images onto your different pages. Try using different insert methods. On the next lesson, we're going to take a look at how to create rollover images, which are actually images that will change when your cursor moves over the top of them.